Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to MBNK News. I am Veronique Lawson for this special news report edition. One of MBN mission is to deliver factual and independent news reporting each month, focusing on the important story that we deem worth giving over, as we contrast them with the original truth, the kingdom truth. Our aim is continuing to deliver some intriguing updates with the most impactful and current news story on the latest global headline. This month, editor picks are as following, so quick, let's dive in. First on the agenda will be a national news coverage, hot topic, sweeping tariff takes effect, federalizing of Washington, D.C., President Trump, Alaska meeting with Russia president, meeting with European leaders in DC, enforcing watermark paper ballot and peace negotiation in progress. So this is what we're going to be covered quite a lot this month. Thursday, August 7 at midnight, sweeping tariff took effect with most import into the United States now facing a baseline 10% duty, with the overall average effective tariff rate rising to more than 17%. The highest since 1935, during the Great Depression. Together, the duty are the most significant move yet by a president set on tightening the global economy even more in favor of the United States. Next, on August 11, President Trump federalized Washington, D.C., placing police under federal control and deploy the National Guard troops on the ground to combat crime and clear homeless encampment around the city. DC crime rate is higher than some of the most dangerous places in the world. Let's hear the tale from Matt Galco.
Statehood is ridiculous. We want to straighten the place out. Statehood's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. It's the Democrats want it because the Democrats have about 95% in this little area. Even I didn't get it very much. They want that. They want to pick up 2 senators, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's the least of the reasons why, by the way, but that's one of the reasons why. What we want to do is make Washington, D.C. the greatest, most beautiful, safest capital anywhere in the world, and that's going to happen.
National Guard troops began arriving at the D.C. Armory Tuesday morning on the president's orders. Trump said Attorney General Pam Bondi would be overseeing the implementation of his plan.
Ultimately, the chain of command is as such: the President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, our DEA Administrator, Terry Cole, who is now serving ahead of the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department. They will be working together.
Roughly 800 National Guard troops have been activated, with 200 of them designated to aid local law enforcement.
We're going to take our capital back.
Although local leaders, including Mayor Muriel Bowser and Police Chief Pamela Smith, said they were blindsided by Trump's takeover announcement Monday, they struck a diplomatic tone when speaking about the federal takeover Tuesday.
What we've done at this point is we have provided the team, the administrator, with a strategic plan on how we will provide resources around our city. I think it's something that is doable.
Attorney General Pam Bondi released a statement on X following her meeting with Bowser Tuesday, saying, "We agree that there is nothing more important than keeping residents and tourists in Washington, D.C. safe from deadly crime." Data shows violent crime in Washington, D.C. has been declining since a 2023 spike, with 2 years of sustained improvement. Bowser said she'd like to make the most of the additional support to drive down crime rates even further. I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Take a look. These are teachers, officers, first responders, parents, siblings, and friends. I was there as guardsman after guardsman walked out of the D.C. headquarters for the National Guard. An emotional Fatma Ba was dropping off her fiancé. She told us his orders say he will be deployed for 13 days. He just came back from Guard responsibilities and was preparing to get back to his family and day job.
It was devastating. He was hurt. You know, he was ready to go back to work. He just came back from drill on Sunday, you know, serving in drill. So it's just like everything is just happening so fast at rapid speed for him.
The Ba's have 2 children who saw their dad for less than 24 hours before he had to return to serve. As a guardsman, the mayor's office said the National Guard will coordinate their efforts with MPD.
On this corner off of Minnesota Avenue in Southeast D.C., those who live here and community leaders are talking about the Trump takeover.
I haven't seen the National Guard deployed. You don't know exactly where they are, what communities they're going into.
After speaking to Eugene Branch, National Guard vehicles were spotted near the Washington Monument. But Branch said it's his Ward 8 neighborhood that needs help fighting crime.
We haven't seen any of that over here in Southeast D.C.
There's a part of this city that, as I say before, may have a cold, but this area has pneumonia. We need to make sure that there's justice for the whole city, that there's equal attention in terms of love and justice.
800 National Guard troops ordered to D.C., but on day 2, Ward 8 ANC Andrea Davis says there has been no sign of the deployment here. But she also disagrees with the tactic.
This is not the answer, bringing the National Guard. We need more resources by way of more police officers. We need to get rid of the 2-year college requirement so we can bring forth more qualified candidates like Maryland and Virginia.
If you were to see, like we mentioned, boots on the ground, would that be something that would make you feel safer?
I do want to see my people taken care of. I want to see the people that work hard every day supported. And we want to see people being helped. I don't want to see my people be harmed and used and abused.
This shouldn't be about one part of the city feeling safe. It should feel like the whole city wants to feel safe.
So it's a 30-day period. What do you expect to see in your community?
I just want to see change. I want to see our neighborhood clean. I want to see the schools safe for the children.
I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, where D.C.'s police union is saying they're welcoming the federal help after the president has temporarily taken over law enforcement in the district. National Guard troops arrived at Washington, D.C.'s Armory with 800 guardsmen deployed as part of the president's federalization of the city's law enforcement.
Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals.
We have more police, and we want to make sure we're using them.
When critics pointed to data showing violent crime at a 30-year low, the White House said the numbers were being cooked. D.C.'s police union agrees.
This concept that crime is down is really an old trope, and we're currently sitting at 3,180 with more than 800 vacancies for the position of sworn police officer. And that's the main reason why we can't keep these streets safe.
Congress could play a role not just in D.C., but nationwide, where Republicans believe blue cities are soft on crime.
President Trump will not be deterred by soft on crime Democrats and media activists who refuse to acknowledge this rampant violence on our streets.
New York Republican Elise Stefanik is reportedly working on a bill ending no-cash bail policies nationwide, a practice where a criminal defendant doesn't need to post bail while awaiting trial for lesser offenses. Florida Republican Byron Donalds has a bill that would make changes to D.C.'s youth offender system and sentencing. Some on D.C.'s City Council agree change is necessary.
And I also do agree that there were some laws that went too far several years ago. I'm proud of the progress that we've made leading to this 30-year low of violent crime, but I am also the first to say we have to do more.
Democrats have slammed the president's use of military on American soil as authoritarian and an abuse of his power.
And that step is a huge step towards an autocratic government with a president who has his own domestic police force. So that's the biggest thing that alarms me about it.
Republicans could also look to quickly fill the Superior Court bench in D.C. with vacancies that have made it harder to fight crime in the Capitol. Nominees require Senate confirmation, and the chamber has been slow to act. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Thank you, Matt, for that report. And also thank you, Eyewitness News, for that report on Washington, D.C. federalization. Well, I believe that we're going to even see more National Guard on the ground, because just this morning it's been reported that 19 cities in the U.S. will be having a National Guard on the ground. So thank you. Next, an awaited high-stake summit to discuss ending Russia war in Ukraine took place in Alaska. The two presidents, Trump and Vladimir Putin, exchanged handshake on the tarmac before leaving together to sit down for the bilateral meeting. Let's turn our attention to the Sky News footage. Thank you.
To Alaska, Anchorage, Donald Trump, the US president, walking out after potentially historic peace talks with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Let's hear what they had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, our negotiations have been held in a constructive atmosphere of mutual respect. We have very thorough negotiations that were quite useful. I would like to thank once again my American counterpart for the proposal to travel out here to Alaska. It only makes sense that we've met here, because our countries, though separated by the oceans, are close neighbors. So when we've met, when I came out of the plane and I've said, "Good afternoon, dear neighbor. Very good to see you. In good health and to see you alive." I think that is very neighborly. And I think that's some kind words that we can say to each other. We're separated by the Strait of Bering, though there are 2 islands only between the Russian island and the U.S. island. They're only 4 kilometers apart. We're close neighbors, and it's a fact. It's also important that Alaska has to do with our common heritage, common history between Russia and the U.S., and many positive events have to do with that territory. Still, there is tremendous cultural heritage back from the Russian America. For example, Orthodox churches and a lot of more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin. During the Second World War, it was here in Alaska that was the origin of the legendary air bridge for the supply of military aircraft and other equipment under the Lend-Lease program. There was a dangerous and treacherous route over the vast emptiness of ice. However, the pilots of both countries did everything to bring closer the victory. They risked their lives and they gave it all for the common victory. I was just in the city of Magadan in Russia, and there is a memorial there dedicated to the Russian and the U.S. pilots. And there are 2 flags, the U.S. flag and the Russian flag. And I know that here as well, there is such a memorial. There is a military burial place several kilometers away from here. The Soviet pilots that buried there who died during that dangerous mission. We're thankful to the citizens and the government of the U.S. for carefully taking care of their memory. I think that's very worthy and noble. We'll always remember other historical examples when our countries defeated common enemies together in the spirit of battle camaraderie and allyship that supported each other and facilitated each other. I'm sure that this heritage will help us rebuild and foster mutually beneficial and equal ties at this new stage, even during the hardest conditions. It is known that there have been no summits between Russia and the U.S. for 4 years, and that's a long time. This time was very hard for bilateral relations, and let's be frank, they've fallen to the lowest point since the Cold War. I think that's not benefiting our countries and the world as a whole. It is apparent that sooner or later we had to amend the situation to move on from the confrontation to dialogue. And in this case, a personal meeting between the heads of state has been long overdue. Naturally, under the condition of serious and painstaking work, and this work has been done in general. Me and President Trump have very good direct contact. We've spoken multiple times. We spoke frankly on the phone. And Special Envoy of the President, Mr. Witkoff, traveled out to Russia several times. Our advisors and heads of foreign ministries kept in touch all the time. And you know fully well that one of the central issues was the situation around Ukraine. We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. And his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand this history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions. We have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress. Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a growth of 20%. As I've said, we have a lot of dimensions for joint work. It is clear that the U.S. and Russian investment and business cooperation has tremendous potential. Russia and the U.S. can offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration. We see that Arctic cooperation is also very possible, and our international context, for example, between the Far East of Russia and the West Coast of the U.S. Overall, it's very important for our countries to turn the page, to go back to cooperation. It is symbolic that not far away from here, at the border between Russia and the U.S., there was a so-called international date line. I think you can step over, literally, from yesterday into tomorrow. And I hope that we'll succeed in that, in political sphere. I would like to thank President Trump for our joint work, for the well-wishing and trustworthy tone of our conversation. It's important that both sides are result-oriented, and we see that the President of the U.S. has a very clear idea of what he would like to achieve. He sincerely cares about prosperity of his nation. Still, he understands that Russia has its own national interests. I expect that today's agreements will be the starting point, not only for the solution of the Ukrainian issue, but also will help us bring back business-like and pragmatic relations between Russia and the U.S. And in the end, I would like to add one more thing. I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then, that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good business-like and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound. And I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe. Thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. That made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, whose faces, who I know in many cases, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sky News, for that in-depth interview, especially the speech of the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And yes, pursuing peace, usually you could get it, but sometimes it's quite difficult. But I also thank our President Trump, for pursuing peace, not only for American people, but all around the world. Thank you. Moving us to our item. It will be European leader in DC for a diplomatic meeting is marked as a big day at the White House. President Trump said, I quote, "We have never had so many European leaders here at one time." This meeting with distinguished guests included President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of Finland, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of Italy, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Friedrich Merz, President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, which ended in a further meeting in the Oval Office. On the agenda was discussing security guarantee for Ukraine, security guarantee for Ukraine, which guarantee will be provided by the various European countries with a coordination with the United States of America. Everyone is very happy about the possibility of peace for Russia and Ukraine. The meeting ended with President Trump called Putin and began the arrangement for the meeting at a location to be determined. between President Putin and President Zelensky. After that meeting takes place, we will have a trillion, meaning 3 people, which will be the 2 presidents plus myself. Again, this was a very good early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years. Let us hear the report from News Nation. Thank you.
To peace in Ukraine after these 2 big meetings. You had the big meet with Zelensky today and the top European leaders after the much pilloried Putin meeting in Alaska on Friday. 3 things, quick. 1, good for America, continuing to try to end the war. We never say that. But you saw a great show of strength today. The President of the United States says to European leaders, hey, you want to be at the table, get to the table, come here right now. They come. Biden tried to end the war. America didn't have to. Trump has been trying, despite wanting to focus less on issues abroad than Biden, right? It was a big part of his campaign, yet he's been as deep in this as he is in anything. And it is proof that America does still represent trying to do the right thing in this planet. For all the criticism that we give her, we remain a singular world power and presence, and you saw that today. Second, to appreciate today and Friday, you have to remember where we were recently. Trump went into this meeting with Putin by threatening him that he better agree or else.
Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
There will be consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes.
You know, right? He was playing it hard. He had been tweeting those things that he thinks he's crazy and all that, right? That's where we were. But then at the meeting, we saw what is described to me as, hey, Chris, we tried the stick. We got to try the carrot. You got to keep going back and forth. Hence, you see literally rolling out the red carpet, clapping for him, which I really thought was more of a kind of a stress breaker than it was celebrating Putin. But you can think whatever you want. After the meeting, he said a ceasefire is no longer necessary. All right, so very different disposition. And we all remember the last public moment with Ukraine's president, right? Remember what happened in February?
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't have. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Never seen anything like it, right? So apolitic, so kind of airing dirty laundry, you know, so frightening, frankly, right? Today, very different vibe.
The war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end, and this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants it to end. I think the whole world is tired of it, and we're going to get it ended.
You know, and again, just a reminder, America doesn't have to do this. America doesn't have to be involved in the Middle East. Doesn't have to. And in fact, a big part of our campaign most recently was what? The president and MAGA saying enough with the foreign stuff. So, you know, this is a really interesting kind of exercise of Americana and what it means. Now, why this difference? Again, I'm told that it's not about Trump, he's completely schizophrenic. No, I think it's actually strategic. I don't know if it'll work. But the administration is trying to carry it after recent licks with sticks on the backside of both sides. But the reaction to both of these meetings are not what I'm talking to you about right now, right? Strategy and tactics and outcomes. It's all about another war, which is never going to end, between our left and right political party fringes. And it's much uglier and stickier and recalcitrant and not going anywhere and intransigent than the war in Ukraine. That's why we hear more about Trump clapping for Putin and what it means and Zelensky capitulating to a dress code than we do the prospects of peace. So here, let's miss the mishigas between left and right for a moment and see where we are in terms of moving the ball forward.
Indeed, Chris, let's forget about the Democrats and Republicans, about left and right, and focus on achieving peace. In addition, peace recognition in progress between Russia and Ukraine Secretary Marco Rubio said, in quote, "The only leader in the world that can talk to both Putin and Zelensky and bring them both to the meeting is Donald J. Trump. We should be proud that we have a president that is made peace a priority." Last but not least, 2020 US election is not over yet. Plausibly, US citizens for future vote might use double measure for security as part of President Trump's plan, which include signing an executive order that will bar states from using mail ballot and potentially some voting machine. He said, without evidence that voting machines are highly inaccurate, as well as more expensive than watermark paper ballot. Let's keep an eye on that.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to MBN. We are diving into some intriguing global headlines. So, let's jump right into the next news story. Remember, it's important to stay informed and engaged in global affairs. So, let's stay connected and keep each other in the loop about what's happening around the world. Again, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more intriguing content coming up next.
Welcome back. Thank you. Now, let's turn our attention to European, Middle East, and Asian news coverage by our local news reporter, correspondent Victoria.
Now, we'll begin with Southern Europe, as it's in crisis because devastating wildfires sweep across Greece, Spain, Portugal, Turkey, and Albania, fueled by extreme heat waves and strong winds. In Greece, thousands were forced to evacuate across the region. At least 3 people have died. And this is one of the most destructive wildfire seasons in Europe's history, where firefighters have been battling in scorching 38 to 45 centigrade degrees temperatures. Let us hear the tale.
This is the state of many parts of southern Europe, burning and smoking, the landscape crackling. In Greece, people watch on as the land near their homes burn. This house might not survive. Its owner tries to stop the fire spreading. Just one of multiple wildfires threatening the western city of Patras. Over 7,000 people have been evacuated as emergency services assess the evolving damage, watching over the 5,000 firefighters on the ground. Overnight in Spain, similar scenes amid a record-breaking heat wave. Firefighters braced for temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius. And this is what these fires are leaving behind. Ashen landscape in a similarly affected northwest Turkey.
It happened all of a sudden because it was dry land. It was engulfed in flames with the wind. Usually this place is canopied as far as the eye can see. There was a car parked behind my car. I wasn't able to save it. All my savings are gone.
Fires have also been burning in Italy, Portugal, the Balkans and here in Albania. This, the 300-year-old St. Elijah Orthodox Church in the south. Just the latest of many European countries hit by fire.
It wasn't the norm some years ago. It is the norm now because we've warmed the earth, because of climate change. We are getting unprecedented heat waves. Every heat wave is hotter than it should have been because the whole world is warmer because of building up greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And that will continue if we keep on burning fossil fuels and deforesting.
Back in Greece, as people try to protect their homes, one question is left. When will it stop? Amelia Harper, Sky News.
Well, I can only say that there is no such a thing as climate change. It has been proven as fact. But instead what we have is geoengineering or weather manipulation. So whenever you hear climate change, please think again. Now, Spain battles record fires despite the end of the heat wave, bringing cooler temperatures. The Spanish government will declare the areas affected by the deadly wildfires that have been ravaged much of its northern Galicia province as a disaster zone. Let us see.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez will declare the areas affected by the deadly wildfires as disaster zones. The fires, currently ranging for a 10th consecutive day, have burned through an area of more than 3,800 square kilometers, according to the EU's European Forest Fire Information System. Thousands of Spanish firefighters, aided by soldiers and water-bombing aircraft, were still at work battling the flames, particularly severe in the northwestern Galicia province. The Interior Ministry says firefighting units from Germany arrived in Spain on Tuesday as part of a European coordination agreement and will be helping to fight the blazes. Madrid says at least 4 people were killed in this year's wildfire season. Police have detained more than 20 people for suspected arson and are investigating almost 90 others for allegedly sparking or contributing to the disaster. The country is still battling a dozen active fires, which continue to rage despite the end of Europe's record-setting heat wave, bringing in cooler temperatures. In neighboring Portugal, more than 3,700 firefighters were at work on Tuesday to brave the flames. At least 2 people were killed by the fires, which have also torched over 2,300 square kilometers. The figure is a 5-fold increase over an almost 2-decade average, ranging from 2006 to 2024.
Now we're moving on to Russia. There was a volcanic eruption that erupted after more than 600 years. Let us see.
Volcano in Kamchatka has erupted for the first time in 600 years, and this is the second volcano to erupt in this region after a huge earthquake rocked Russia's far east and triggered tsunami warnings last week. Pictures released by the Russian state media show a towering plume of ash spewing from the Krasheninnikov volcano. Kamchatka's Ministry of Emergency Situations said in a post on Telegram that the plume is estimated to have reached an altitude of 6,000 meters. The volcano has been assigned an orange aviation hazard code, the ministry added, meaning flights in the area may be disrupted. Now, it came after Klyushevskoye, another volcano in the region, the most active in Europe and Asia. It erupted on Wednesday. Eruptions of Klyushevskoye are quite common, with at least 18 occurring since the year 2000. Both recent eruptions followed one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded, which struck on Wednesday, sparking tsunami warnings and evacuations of millions of people from coastal areas from Japan to Hawaii to Ecuador. Now, the worst damage was seen in Russia, where a tsunami waves crashed through the port of Severodvinsk and submerged a fishing plant. Officials said the magnitude 8.8 quake struck off Petropavlovsk on Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula and was the strongest since 2011.
Well, it seems like Mother Nature is waking up to something. Anyway, let us move on with Norway. Yes, that's where we're going. We're going to Norway, where the son of Mette Marit, Norway's crown princess, has been indicted on multiple charges, including rape, following his arrest in November 2024. He could face up to 10 years in prison if convicted. The 32 accounts include rape and violence against a close partner. Other charges include making death threats and traffic violations. Norway's Crown Prince Haakon said on Tuesday that the royal family will continue to carry out official duties while his stepson stands trial for rape next year. Let us hear the tale.
Tiltalebeslutning mot Marius Borg Høiby. Han tiltalt for 4 voldtekter, for mishandling I nære relasjoner mot en tidligere samboer, og overfor en annen tidligere samboer han tiltalt for flere voldshandlinger, fredskrenkelser, skadeverk og brudd på besøksforbud. Og han også tiltalt for å ha filmet underlivet til en rekke kvinner uten deres viten eller samtykke. Den øvre strafferammen for de forholdene som omhandlet I tiltalebeslutningen fengsel I inntil 10 år. For påtalemyndigheten så det viktig at det skal være likhet for loven. Og det at Marius Borg Høiby en del av kongefamilien, skal selvfølgelig ikke gjøre at han blir behandlet mildere eller strengere enn om tilsvarende forhold var begått av andre.
Nå har vi jo fått avklart hva tiltalen blir, og nå går dette videre i rettsprosessen, og nå blir det jo domstolene som da avgjør hvordan dette blir til slutt.
Hvordan påvirker dette kronprinsfamilien?
For oss så fortsetter vi å løse våre oppgaver som best vi kan, sånn som vi pleier.
Jeg tenker på hvordan er det å oppleve dette som familie, en sånn tøff situasjon?
Alle involvert i den saken her synes nok det er utfordrende og vanskelig.
Moving on to India, the government has decided to ban all money-based gaming transactions under regulations and promotion of the Online Gaming Act. Under the bill, no bank or financial institution will be allowed to permit transfer of funds for online money gaming. And the government will also prohibit advertising of real money gaming. Sources told a correspondent. Let us watch the tale.
Big move. Gaming companies are bracing for a body blow as the online gaming bill has been given the cabinet's approval. The bill is likely to be tabled in Parliament tomorrow. It's likely to ban online money games and prohibit any fund transfer or advertisements related to the same. Ashmit joins us now with more details. Ashmit, a body blow for online gaming companies that take any kind of fee or have any kind of money being deposited with them. Take us through what the bill proposes and the implications.
Well, the indications that sources are telling us, that government officials are telling us, are quite clear that if the current provisions, the way the current bill is conceived, if it goes through, if it gets the ratification of the Parliament, that's curtains for the online real money gaming industry. That's the long and short of this bill. This bill, what it's trying to do, to begin with, it defines online money games as any game that involves a transaction, a flow of funds from the user to the platform, irrespective of whether it's a game of chance or it's a game of skill. And subsequent to that, it then goes on to say that any person, any entity is barred. Such platforms are simply not kosher, simply not provided, simply cannot be allowed. That's the long and short of what this bill is trying to do. Additionally, this bill also, what sources tell us, is likely to bar any form of advertisement or promotion of such platforms, and then invites penal consequences is there as well. We'll come to that in just a bit. Additionally, what this bill also tries to do is to bar any bank or financial institution from allowing or facilitating this transaction. So essentially any bank that is acting as a mediator for allowing transfer of funds for, say, suppose to a gaming platform, that is also not likely to be permitted. That's what government sources are telling us. Not just that, what we're also given to understand is that there are also likely to be detailed penal consequences. So in case of a platform that is found to be providing such services to be in violation of this law, well, that will invite a jail term of as high as 3 years and a penalty as high as 1 crore rupees. In case of advertisement and promotion, the jail term again could be as high as about 2 years, with the penalty component as high as 50 lakh rupees. In case there's a bank or a financial institution that's allowing for these transfer of funds, that also could invite a jail term of again as high as 3 years, and then subsequently a penalty as well of about 1 crore rupees. And this is a first time offense. These penalties, they compound with subsequent offenses. That is also likely to be provided as a part of this bill. Not just that, there are also likely to be detailed provisions in this law which provide that in case a company is found to be violating such platforms, so a company that is providing these services, then all officials who are in decision-making positions in that company are also likely to be proceeded against. What that procedure is, what that likely penal action is not likely to be laid out. But then again, there is a clear message that even the people who are manning these companies could also face action. So clearly, the government seems to have its mind made. It is not comfortable with the operation of this industry. And that's interesting, given as how only a couple of years back, there were detailed rules that had come out as a part of the IT rules, which were in fact considered to be in favor, in support of the gaming industry, of the gaming ecosystem. This, however, marks a complete turnaround, the government making its view clear. It's not comfortable with the operation of the online gaming industry.
Well, that is absolutely clear, and we are expecting this bill to be tabled in Parliament tomorrow. Of course, we'll be tracking this story. Thanks very much, Ashmit.
Now, moving on to China. The first World Humanoid Robot Games took place in Beijing, China, with participants from 16 countries, including the US, Germany, and Japan. Robotic athletes attempted to compete across a range of events, including athletics, football, dance, and martial arts. Organizers said that the purpose of the event is to trial and refine current robotics, with sports being a way to test a robot's decision-making, motor skills, and controllers that will be later applied in real-life settings, like factories and homes. It's all part of China's push to become a global leader in humanoid robotics. And the government has a national plan to build a world-class humanoid industry by 2027. Let us hear the tale.
Some of these robots move along at quite a clip.
He's even faster than me.
Others look confused. And when they crash, the crowd loves it. Even though there are some foreign teams at this event, the World Humanoid Robot Games is really a massive marketing push for China's robotics industry. Stacks and all. While going down for the count is all part of the fun here, the competition is fierce in the industry, and not all robot manufacturers will survive. That's despite billions of dollars pouring into robot startups as part of a push to make this country the world's tech leader. And these showdowns are more than just a gimmick. They're used to push the machines to their limits.
Whether at this tournament or some other practice scenario, we're gradually learning and upgrading our robots.
Some critics of this technology have said, why try to make it look like humans? After all, they could be any shape at all. Well, proponents of the technology say that it's to make it easier for them to fit into an environment already built for human beings. And after all, who doesn't like a few robots slugging it out? Whoa. I asked one of China's leading CEOs in the field how long it will take until robots are widespread in society.
In manufacturing and the service industries, it will be quicker, but robots for ordinary people is going to take much longer.
And winning here not only means medals, it draws attention, which can lead to greater investment, determining financial survival or death. Stephen McDonald, BBC News, Beijing.
Well, you just saw. Now we're going to have Olympics. Soon after this, we will have Olympics. Who knows? But we really need to exercise caution with this approach, with technology. Technology is good. I'm not saying it's not good. But we really need to be mindful of where technology is heading. We must use a critical thinking. We must ask questions. Because as far as I can see, that this is just another way of the Roman Empire reinventing itself. Give them a circus, keep them entertained, while we are doing something else behind the backdrop, or while they are distracted with all this. And also think about the implications for the homes, the job losses, and everything else. But let me just leave it like that. And I want to end up with a little touch of cuteness.
For all the donkeys in the world. Lou, let's pray. Let's pray. Let's pray. Dear God, I pray that you watch over all dogs and keep them safe. I pray that you bless all dogs with health. Amen. Yes, good boy. How you pray for all your sisters and brothers.
Told you, it was just a pinch of, a droplet of cuteness. Over to you, Veronique.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to MBN. We are diving into some intriguing global headlines. So, let's jump right into the next news story. Remember, it's important to stay informed and engaged in global affairs. So, let's stay connected and keep each other in the loop about what's happening around the world. Again, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more intriguing content coming up next.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Victoria, for that European, Asian, and Middle East intensive report for the month of August. Well, I like that video on the AI, whatever AI or robotic people trying to compete with human beings. They will never achieve anyhow. So that for me is just a little bit a kind of a brainwash people, so that they begin to buy into it. But I think at this moment of time, when people are very much awake, it will make no sense. That was great. Thank you. So now we're going to move off to our last item on the news today, which is going to be the health item by our news reporter, Aida.
Thank you, Veronique. This is your correspondent, Aida Cirino Lee, coming with the health news for the month of August. Let's start with our Health Secretary, R.F. Kennedy, that he explaining why doctors are getting paid for vaccination. Let us see.
Kennedy Jr., you're HHS Secretary. Let me ask you something. Should doctors make decisions based upon what's best for their patients or based upon what makes them the most money? It's not a tough question, but we've inherited a healthcare system that constantly pushes doctors toward the latter. It rewards certain treatments not because they're better for the patient, but because someone profits. Take what happened during COVID. Hospitals were paid to report staff vaccination rates. Those numbers were fed into the National Healthcare Safety Network, then published on the CDC website to shame any hospital that refused to become an enforcer of federal vaccine mandates. Today, I'm proud to announce we've eliminated that policy by repealing a dangerous Biden-era provision in the CMS inpatient payment rule. And we're not stopping there. We're scanning every corner of the healthcare system for hidden incentives that corrupt medical judgment. What we're finding is alarming. Doctors are being paid to vaccinate, not to evaluate. They're pressured to follow the money, not the science. We've recently uncovered that more than 36,000 doctors had their Medicare reimbursements altered based upon childhood vaccination rates. That's not medicine. That's coercion. It's immoral. It has no place in a constitutional democracy or in a system that claims to protect children. Medical decisions should be made based upon one thing and one thing only, the well-being of the patient, never on a financial bonus or a government mandate. Patients deserve honest, uncorrupted advice from their doctors. Doctors deserve the freedom to use their training and to follow the science and speak the truth without fear of punishment. Doctors should be guided by medical judgment and their Hippocratic oath, not by financial incentives or government mandates. That's what this policy change is about, and it's just the beginning. Thank you very much.
Okay, so R.F. Kennedy came back again, and he's winning down the development of mRNA vaccine. Let us see.
It's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here, your HHS Secretary. At HHS, we have a division called the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA. BARDA drives some of our most advanced scientific research. It funds developments of vaccines, drugs, diagnostics, and other tools to fight emerging diseases and national health threats. Over the past few weeks, BARDA reviewed 22 mRNA vaccine development investments and began canceling them. Let me explain why. Most of these shots are for flu or COVID, but as the pandemic showed us, mRNA vaccines don't perform well against viruses that infect the upper respiratory tract. Here's the problem. mRNA only codes for a small part of the viral proteins, usually a single antigen. One mutation and the vaccine becomes ineffective. This dynamic drives a phenomenon called antigenic shift, meaning that the vaccine paradoxically encourages new mutations and can actually prolong pandemics as the virus constantly mutates to escape the protective effects of the vaccine. Millions of people, maybe even you or someone you know, caught the Omicron variant despite being vaccinated. That's because a single mutation can make mRNA vaccines ineffective. The same risk applies to flu. After reviewing the science and consulting top experts at NIH and FDA, HHS has determined that mRNA technology poses more risks than benefits for these respiratory viruses. That's why, after extensive review, BARDA has begun the process of terminating these 22 contracts totaling just under $500 million. To replace the troubled mRNA programs, we're prioritizing the development of safer, broader vaccine strategies, like whole virus vaccines and novel platforms that don't collapse when viruses mutate. Let me be absolutely clear. HHS supports safe, effective vaccines for every American who wants them. That's why we're moving beyond the limitations of mRNA for respiratory viruses and investing in better solutions. Thank you.
Alert, people. Do you like shrimp? Then be careful, because there's a recall on shrimp, according to the FDA, because of the radioactive shrimp that they've been found, some of them in Walmart. Let us see.
A warning about potentially radioactive shrimp at Walmart. The Food and Drug Administration issued a recall of Great Value's frozen raw shrimp August 19th from several different lot codes with the expiration date of March 15th, 2027 for a possible exposure to cesium-137, a radioactive isotope. A plant in Indonesia in charge of processing the selected group of seafood is currently being investigated by the FDA for not informing distributors of the detection of cesium-137 in its plants. At this point, the recall is preventative, as no bags of shrimp that tested positive for cesium have entered the U.S. commerce circulation. But the level of cesium found in the seized shipment of frozen shrimp was about 68 becquerels per kilogram, significantly lower than the 1,200 becquerels per kilogram the FDA considers warranted to cause harm. Becquerels are the measurement of radioactive decay. 1 becquerel is equivalent to 1 second of radioactive decay. However, the FDA notes in its latest recall release that any even small number of radioactive exposures can damage DNA and increase risk of cancer. The latest warning emphasizes that shrimp lovers who may have purchased the Walmart brand's frozen crustacean should dispose of it and warn stores to pull the product from their shelves. And of course, if you have ingested the Great Value shrimp recently and are feeling nauseous or feverish, the FDA recommends speaking to your healthcare provider.
Do you allow your children to buy energy drinks at convenience stores like 7-Eleven, for example? Well, the FDA is looking to ban a drink called 708 from Cranton products because of its negative effects. Let us watch.
The government is looking to ban a product that they say is targeting kids and linked to addiction. The Food and Drug Administration releasing a report on the harmful effects of 7O, a concentrated byproduct of the kratom plant. Lisa Rantala conducted her own investigation on kratom back in February after a Columbus mother told her that it killed her son. Lisa?
Terry, I looked into the death of Johnny Loring, who died last year and whose mother told me he used the herbal supplement kratom regularly. Advocates of kratom call it a miracle in its pure form. However, they call for a ban on altered, concentrated, and synthetic forms of kratom. Those concentrated byproducts of the kratom plant are known as 7O. The feds are making a distinction between 7O and the natural kratom plant leaf. They say 7O has the potential to be abused by users because of its ability to bind to opioid receptors. The Food and Drug Administration is now concerned with the availability of 7O products now found online in corner stores and vape shops. Some come in the forms of fruit-flavored gummies and ice cream cones and market themselves as kratom.
Putting them around schools, they're putting them in our poorest neighborhoods, and now they're putting them in every gas station. And they're marketed for children. They're gummy bears. They're bright colors. They're candy flavored. This is really a sinister industry.
Today, the FDA is issuing a letter to healthcare professionals about its findings on 7-0. The Drug Enforcement Agency is reviewing those recommendations for a ban. The DEA will make its final determination after public comment. On your side, I'm investigator Lisa Rontola.
So the FDA is getting busy, huh? So now also the FDA is looking to limit access to COVID vaccines. So let us see.
The FDA is now limiting the number of Americans who can get an annual COVID vaccine shot. The new guidelines say people 65 and older and those who have a high-risk health condition that makes them vulnerable to severe COVID, they are still eligible. The vaccine, though, is not approved for healthy Americans under 65 until further testing is done. Let's bring in Dr. William Schaffner now. He's an infectious disease expert and professor of medicine at Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. Good morning to you, Doctor, joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. Can you explain this change for us and why it's being made now?
Well, Errol, good morning. And the change actually was anticipated. The CDC's advisory committee has been looking at the same data, thinking that now that COVID is endemic here and really affects principally people who are older and people who have underlying medical conditions, perhaps the recommendations for this fall, for this upcoming fall season, should be altered from everyone to targeted recommendations. And perhaps with a more targeted recommendations, we could get more acceptance of the vaccine. Now, that said, there are still many people who are younger than age 65 and do not have an underlying medical condition who would like to be vaccinated. Perhaps they're traveling. Perhaps they're caring for someone at home who has one of these underlying chronic medical conditions. Perhaps they just wish to take advantage of this prevention activity. And could they receive the vaccine? The CDC's advisory committee will meet sometime in June. And if they provide, as part of their recommendations, the statement that anyone who wishes to receive the vaccine can, well, perhaps that will be accepted and permit those other folks to receive the vaccine.
Okay, so as of right now, younger people who still want to get that shot, and as you said, may have someone at home that is predisposed to it, they can't get it at the moment. Is that right? So
well,
it's a wait and see.
They could, Errol. It would be off-label, and then they would have to pay for it out of pocket.
All right, an important update for everyone watching. Dr. William Schaffner, always great to see you. We appreciate the update. Thanks.
Wow. The FDA is being very busy. Now the FDA is going to be discussing with us the latest wins for MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. Let us see.
Well, the Make America Healthy Again movement is making major progress, revamping the food industry in the first 6 months since the Trump administration entered office. And they have made major advancements. Some of their major moves include taking steps to phase out certain synthetic food dyes. A growing body of research suggests that artificial food dyes may be linked to hyperactivity, irritability, and other potential health issues in kids. At least 8 dyes are expected to be removed from the U.S. food supply by the end of 2026. The administration also investigating the impact of ultra-processed foods and the potential harm they have on children's health, especially if they, the fact that they contribute to obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. And earlier this year, Operation Stork Speed was launched to enhance infant formula, their milk, while making it more reliable. They're also, by the way, pushing for more women to breastfeed, which is an even healthier option. It's a joint effort between the HHS and the FDA. Already, a number of states have been embracing MAHA-related policies. Look at this. There's a number of brands that are making major MAHA-inspired product changes. So here to discuss all of these changes is FDA Commissioner Marty McCary. Marty, it's so great to have you on today, and we're so proud of the advancement that you've made together with Dr. Oz and Bobby Kennedy in all of these areas. Talk to me about what you think we will see in terms of, I mean, we're seeing these policy changes, But what will we see, do you predict, in 4 to 8 years with these changes in terms of health for Americans?
Well, Rachel, good to see you. You know, we've been in office about 3 to 4 months, and already we've made tremendous progress, and we're going to keep going, not just the 9 petroleum-based food dyes being removed from the food supply. Remember, the naysayers said it wasn't real when we announced it. Here we have almost half of the nation's food manufacturers pledging to abide by our commitment within the time frame that we specified. We're seeing the next step now where titanium dioxide, another chemical, is being removed by one of the big candy makers. We're going to rewrite the food pyramid. That has been a broken piece of misinformation. We're going to end the 70-year war on natural saturated fat by the medical establishment. It was dogma. It was never supported by data. We're going to have food guidance that's based on data, and it's not going to ignore ultra-processed food, something completely ignored. The grains stripped of fiber and chopped up that function like sugar. We did the work on infant formula, hormone replacement therapy, you know, in this administration and in this FDA. We believe that for too long, issues of women's health have been ignored and not gotten the attention they deserve. So we had a big roundtable on hormone replacement therapy for perimenopausal women.
I've been really impressed with how the 3 of you have also been working with influential food influencers on social media. So many young people, all my adult children are all into health. I mean, it's kind of like you've latched onto the idea that it's popular and you're helping to promote it culturally, which I think is so important as well. I want to talk about 2 things that you are doing that don't get as much attention. One of them is the move away from animal testing, which I think, you know, PETA's happy, everyone's happy. We've been relying too much on the abuse of animals to make, you know, many of these changes in food and drugs. Also, I've been really impressed with the fact that you've when it comes to infertility, yes, the Trump administration has been supporting IVF, but there's also been this emphasis on natural ways to do it, not just depending on pharma to, you know, sort of give the solution and instead getting to the root cause of infertility, which often is many dietary issues.
Yeah, that's right. Look, not every health problem needs to be solved first with a pharmaceutical product. Maybe we need to talk about school lunch programs, not just putting kids on Ozempic. Maybe we need to talk about our new SNAP waivers, which is a first in this administration that gets away from SNAP for junk food and sugary drinks instead of just talking about insulin. So we're seeing an entire shift. Research by Jay Bhattacharya at the NIH now focusing on root causes. And look, at the FDA, we're cutting the red tape, the regulations, and the idle time and the waste in that 10-year process. Why does it take 10 years for a new cure to come to market? You asked, what are we going to see in the next couple of years? Look, I'd like to see a cure for type 1 diabetes, for neurodegenerative diseases, for some types of stage 4 cancer. I think there's potentially promising treatments not only for them, but for a universal flu shot. So we're not guessing every year. You get long-term protection. So look, we're going to cut red tape. Part of that was reducing animal testing. It added 6 months to a year to the process. And animal testing was not very predictive of how the drugs do in humans. Computational modeling and other technology is better in many cases. And I don't believe God made animals for us to torture and subjugate. So we're doing the right things, and we're using common sense.
Yeah, a compassionate FDA, NIH, and HHS. What a beautiful thing. And also an FDA director who says we need to look at root causes and not immediately run to pharmaceutical companies for the answers. This is like a new day, and we can't wait to see the results at the end of these 4 years. But probably we'll see it in 8 years, the expense that our government has on chronic diseases. I think they'll drop. I'm really proud of everything that you and Jay and Bobby and Dr. Oz are doing. You all should be very proud as well of yourselves. So thank you, Dr. Marty Makary.
Thanks so much,
amazing.
Rachel. Thanks a lot.
Why, those news were very, very excited. So next, let's watch what are the health news in the world. So let us see.
Infectious diseases. New COVID-19 subvariant spreads in Southeast Asia. WHO reports rising cases in Thailand, Vietnam and Malaysia due to a highly transmissible Omicron lineage. Symptoms appear milder, but spread is rapid. Dengue outbreak worsens in Brazil. Over 2.5 million cases reported in 2025 so far, with hospitals in Sao Paulo under strain. Emergency measures include mosquito control campaigns. Avian flu detected in migratory birds in Europe. France and the Netherlands confirm H5N1 in wild flocks. Poultry farmers advised to step up biosecurity. Medical research and advances. New Alzheimer's drug shows 40% slower decline. Phase 3 trial results from Japan reveal a novel monoclonal antibody therapy that targets tau proteins, now seeking regulatory approval. Artificial pancreas breakthrough. UK researchers successfully tested a fully automated insulin delivery system for type 1 diabetes patients, reducing hypoglycemia risk by 60%. Public Health and Policy India launches National Mental Health Hotline. Aimed at tackling rising depression and suicide rates, the 24/7 service will link callers to trained psychologists within minutes. US approves first over-the-counter contraceptive pill, available without prescription nationwide, starting September 2025. Environmental and health links. Heat waves push ER visits to record levels in southern Europe. Spain, Italy and Greece see a surge in heat-related illnesses as temperatures top 46 degrees Celsius. Microplastics found in human lungs and liver. New multinational study warns of long-term health impacts from environmental pollution.
Let us move on to health tips of the day for a healthy life.
Stay hydrated. Drink at least 8 to 10 glasses of water, especially if you're in a hot climate. Herbal teas or infused water with lemon and mint can make it more enjoyable. 2. Protect your eyes. Limit screen time. Follow the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. And wear sunglasses outdoors. 3. Boost immunity naturally. Include vitamin C-rich foods like oranges, guava and bell peppers. Add turmeric and ginger for anti-inflammatory benefits. Move every hour. Even if you're working at a desk, stand up, stretch or walk for 2 to 3 minutes each hour to improve circulation. 5. Eat a fiber-rich breakfast. Oats, fruits or whole grains help keep digestion smooth and energy levels steady. Practice deep breathing. Spend 5 minutes in the morning on deep breathing or mindfulness meditation to reduce stress.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Veronique.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to MBN. We are diving into some intriguing global headlines. So, let's jump right into the next news story. Remember, it's important to stay informed and engaged in global affairs. So, let's stay connected and keep each other in the loop about what's happening around the world. Again, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more intriguing content coming up next.
Thank you very much, Aida, for that health report. Very positive. And welcome back for all of us. Indeed, there is a lot of change. There are a lot of change around the globe. We witnessed fire in the most European country, Hurricane Erin sweeping around the U.S. and also the Caribbean. We have that great positive change in healthcare thanks to Robert Kennedy Jr. Great. And then, yes, we also have President Trump pursuing peace nationwide and globally alike. So we have to make sure that the right people are put in place in the government and accountability is ensured for the best interest of we, the people. Well, this wrap up today edition of MBNK News special monthly report on global headlines update for the month of August 2025. Thank you for joining us on this journey. MBNK News is excited to bring you the latest global news on hope that you are as eager as we are to keep up with the world's happenings. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates. Stay informed, and stay safe out there. Have a great evening and see you next time. Signing off, Veronique Lawson. Thank you.